Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the colors. Victor Maldonado will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sal Valentinetti will now perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please join me in observing a moment of silence for our soldiers abroad and home, our law enforcement officers and firefighters and EMTs, and all of our frontline workers. Please retire the colors. The invocation for today's ceremony will be given by Monsignor James Lasante, the pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes Church. Monsignor Lasante.
I don't know why people think you have to stand to pray. Please be seated. First, I want to apologize for the weather. I had prayed for a little more sun for Anne today. But let me tell you, last week I had a wedding, and it was torrential rain. The bride came into our church in tears that her day had been ruined. And I said to her, you know, we believe in the Catholic faith that when it rains incredibly on the day of your wedding, it's because God has looked at the beauty of the bride and is so moved by your beauty that he sheds tears of joy. And she said, is that true? And I said, no. I don't know if you believe in angels. I do, and I could swear I saw one outside the headquarters here, and he was an Irish-looking angel, and he looked suspiciously like Dennis Dillon, who I think is so happy today. He had the good sense many years ago to bring into law enforcement the wonderful Anne Donnelly. All right, I'll keep this short. Anne came during the campaign to my church of Our Lady of Lourdes in Massapequa Park. I wanted the people to know her because she's a great lady, but also I wasn't a big fan of her opponent and his ideas. In fact, I had performed an exorcism on those. But when Anne came with Dave, her husband, to the church, I like to ask people afterwards, for the sake of the parish, like, what do you think of her? And I wrote down some words they used to describe Anne, the people. She seems really normal. She's approachable. They could talk to her. She seems so down to earth. She seems to like her husband. She didn't let go of him the whole time of the Mass. Someone else gave her the highest compliment. She looks like a mom. And someone else said, she could be my next door neighbor. All this, to me, reflected what we love about Anne. She's a thorough and total professional. That's in terms of her job. But as a person, normal, down to earth, relatable, kind, compassionate, so many of the gifts you want someone to have. To be smart enough in law enforcement to do the right thing, but good enough to do it with compassion. And she has. So my prayer is that all those things the people of Our Lady of Lourdes so liked about Anne continue to flourish, and also that she has less to do, that the bad guys decide not to be bad, and there's less work to do in Anne's important office. Lord, bless Anne Donnelly with many more years of health, happiness, and peace. Bless her family and give them, too, the patience to deal with the demands that she will face. Help all of us to be people who make this world a better place by being people truly of compassion, people like Anne. And we ask all of this in your holy name, and to that let's all say loud and clear, amen. Amen. Thanks, Anne.
Good afternoon and welcome to the inauguration of Anne T. Donnelly, known affectionately to her family, friends, and colleagues as Annie. My name is Rick Whalen. I messed it up. I got a bump. I'm an executive assistant district attorney at the district attorney's office. Okay. Who has known Annie Donnelly for more than 30 years. When D.A. Donnelly asked me to be the master of ceremonies today, I was humbled, truly, to be part of her special day. Thank you. I asked the district attorney if I could have fun with this role being MC. She said, have fun, but don't have too much fun. I asked her, why, are there going to be some serious people in the audience? And she said, yes. So I was wondering how I could identify those serious people here today. I'm guessing it's the ones sitting up front here. I see the chairman, I see the new county executive, a bunch of judges and some others. So I'm told you're off limits. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge some folks. I would like to thank the many elected officials here today, to the members of the judiciary, to Annie's family and friends, to our clergy members, Monsignor Lasante, Reverend Dr. Millett, and Rabbi Kamenetsky, members of the District Attorney's Office, and a special thank you to the Nassau County Police Department for hosting us today. As I said, I've had the good fortune of knowing District Attorney Donnelly for more than 30 years. She is what we call in the business a complete prosecutor. She's organized, smart, personable, passionate about her work, and always fair to a fault. DA Donnelly put 110% into her cases and investigations, and she always led by example. She's always been supportive of the younger assistant district attorneys and believed that it's incumbent upon us to teach them the right way. You know, Annie often told people that she worked for me. Well, that's not entirely true. She worked with me. We were co-captains of the Organized Crime and Rackets Bureau for 15 years. The only difference between us was that she didn't make my salary. And now, of course, I'm told I don't make her salary, and oh yeah, I work for her. She said I could have a little bit of fun. As co-captains, Annie and I were in sync 99% of the time as far as what type of plea to offer, how to advance an investigation, how to close a case, when to close a case, and the like. I think that 1% disagreement had to do with where we were going to be getting takeout for lunch. She wanted sushi from Taku on 7th Street, and I wanted a sandwich from Cuck's Deli on Mineola Boulevard. Needless to say, I acquired some taste for sushi. Our young ADAs in the Bureau often referred to Annie and I as Mom and Dad. Hey, it could have been worse. They could have referred to us as Grandma and Grandpa. As a manager in the DA's office for the past 15 years, one of the things I've had to do are yearly evaluations. That is, on paper, evaluate those assistant district attorneys in my bureau. I had to evaluate Annie 15 times. But in 2021, I had a suspicion that this may be my last time evaluating Deputy Bureau Chief Annie Donnelly. I have that evaluation with me here today. I wrote the following under the heading General Comments. Deputy Bureau Chief Donnelly has proven herself to be a leader over and over. She's a team player who can always be counted on. A little lower on the form is a section that asks where the person needs improvement. And I wrote, takes on too many investigations. Deputy Bureau Chief Donnelly never says no to accepting new assignments. There's also a section on how we, as managers, plan on addressing the areas where the person needs improvement. I wrote, she is too stubborn and set in her ways. Deputy Bureau Chief Donnelly won't listen. I give up. Needless to say, the front office was not amused with my honesty. So today, District Attorney Donnelly, please look favorably upon me this year when it is time for you to do my evaluation. In closing, let me add that in addition to being a devoted public servant to the people of Nassau County for 32 years, Annie remains a devoted mom, a devoted wife, a devoted daughter, a devoted sister, and a devoted friend. Annie, thank you for giving me this honor today. Annie is an incredibly humble person, as evidenced by her career. She deeply believes in public service. But that love for helping her community came from her parents, Barbara and Patrick Galligan. Here's a video about introducing you to her amazing family.
For career prosecutor Ann Donnelly, it's always been about keeping Nassau neighbors safe. Do the right thing and the right result will follow, Ann's dad, Patrick Galligan, often said. That adage was a call to action for Ms. Donnelly when she graduated from Fordham Law School in 1989. Indeed, Ann has worked to do the right thing alongside a caring team of prosecutors for over 3 decades in the Nassau County District Attorney's Office. And now, Nassau's new district attorney is focused on inspiring staff, fighting for justice, and providing resources for those who need help. Securing justice for victims and keeping people safe are the challenges that drew Ann into a life of public service. Public service is in Ann Donnelly's blood. In fact, the dedication to public service also beckoned her sister Mary to join the FBI and her brother Patrick to become a Marine Corps fighter pilot. And the district attorney's taskmaster, cheerleader, and life coach has been her mother, Barbara. Unfortunately, Ann's third sibling did not answer the call to public service, but Ann still has a warm place in her heart for her little sister, Barbara Galligan, who is a medical doctor and cancer oncologist. For Ann and her family, there's nothing like the satisfaction of helping to make our society better and safer. For 12 years, Ann worked tirelessly prosecuting violent felonies. She prosecuted prominent murder-for-hire cases and the doctor who forcibly touched and filmed his patients. Ann Donnelly has a vision for the team at the district attorney's office, a vision that includes a commitment to justice and public safety, as well as support for victims and at-risk individuals. To be sure, there are challenges to achieving these goals. Changes to bail and discovery laws that were passed in Albany have made the job of prosecutors and law enforcement officers more difficult. But Ann Donnelly has never backed away from a challenge, and she doesn't plan on starting now. Join Ann Donnelly and the men and women of the Nassau District Attorney's Office. Accept the challenge and deliver on the promise of a safer Nassau County. True to Patrick Galligan's call to action, Ann Donnelly knows that if we do the right thing, the right result will follow.
Tough to follow that, I'm sorry. Now this message is for Annie's siblings, Mary, Patrick, and Barbara. I've known your mom for a number of years. And one thing she's always told me is that Annie is the smartest one. You might have some impressive credentials, leading the FBI in New York City, Marine Corps fighter pilot, and a doctor tackling cancer. But she's definitely your parents' favorite. As prosecutors, we work closely with our partners in law enforcement. There are times when you see more of your detectives than you see of your own family. It can also be very stressful work. Lives and liberty are literally on the line. For more than 25 years, Detective John Wighouse of the Nassau County Police Department worked with ADA Annie Donnelly. They worked on narcotics cases, they worked on murder-for-hire cases, and complex investigations. At one point, ADA Donnelly even sent Detective Wighouse into an upstate maximum security corrections facility as an undercover operative. He cleans up very well, but I have to tell you, he's a very scary guy when he's undercover. We even call him Stone Cold Wiggy when he's not around. Detective Wighouse now serves as the president of the Nassau County Detectives Association. He was instrumental in convincing a somewhat reluctant Annie Donnelly to run for office. I should note that in 2019, Detective Wighouse's organization presented Annie with the honorary Law Enforcement Woman of the Year award. She's the only second assistant district attorney to receive that honor in the organization's 97-year history, and she's the only woman, ADA, to have received it. It is my great pleasure to introduce Detective John Wighouse.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon. I'm honored to speak today about our newly elected District Attorney, Ann Donnelly. But first, I want to thank the man who made this all possible, Chairman Joe Cairo. Chairman, thank you for your tireless efforts, dedication, your willingness to listen, and having your trust in me. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the men and women of law enforcement for their commitment to upholding the law and ensuring the safety of the public. I would also like to salute the leadership of our law enforcement unions for supporting Ann Donnelly for District Attorney. From Nassau County, Suffolk County, New York City Detectives, Port Authority, and especially to Sean Randall, president of the Freeport PBA, who stood with me early on and helped get the Village PBA's endorsements for Annie. Most importantly, I am grateful to the voters who spoke up loud and clear on Election Day, voting for safe communities, the rule of law, and respect for law and order. Finally, thank you to Ann Donnelly for being law enforcement's candidate for District Attorney. You made us proud and you had our backs. We will always have your back. Whenever anyone becomes famous, people inevitably say, I knew him or her when. When we talk about Ann Donnelly, I really can say I knew her when. I've known Ann as a 32-year prosecutor, dedicated to keeping people safe, fighting to put dangerous criminals behind bars, and tirelessly pursuing justice. I've known Ann as a dedicated public servant who has cared about victims and their families. I've known Ann Donnelly as someone who loves her family and is committed to her community. I also have known Ann as a person who stands up for what is right. Finally, I am happy to say that I have known Ann as someone who cares about the men and women of law enforcement. I have worked many cases with Ann in the past, and I remember one particular time when Ann had called me to work as an undercover in a murder-for-hire case, as Rick had mentioned. Ann had the faith and trust in me to work that case. So when I heard there was going to be a vacancy in the Nassau County District Attorney's Office for the top law enforcement officer, I immediately thought of one person who would be perfect for the job because I had faith and trust in her. I spoke to Ann and said, Nassau needs a tough prosecutor as district attorney. Nassau needs you. I even reached out to my friend, the Nassau County Republican Chairman Joe Cairo. I told him about Annie, and a meeting was set, and I introduced Annie to the chairman. And when Annie was named as the party's choice for district attorney, I knew there was no question about who would be the next district attorney. Those who know me know I speak up when I have to, and for this election, I felt I had to. For Ann Donnelly and the prosecutors in the DA's offices, along with the men and women of law enforcement, our job got a lot tougher when some extreme Albany politicians enacted bail and discovery reform laws. I did a television commercial supporting Annie, letting the public know how dangerous these bills, bail and discovery laws are. During the campaign, Ann has repeated something that her dad often told her during her youth, as you saw in the video. Ann's dad, Patrick Galligan, had told her, do the right thing and the right result will follow. I know Ann Donnelly is someone who has always done the right thing. I know that she will do the right thing as district attorney. And because she will continue to do the right thing, the right result will follow for Nassau neighbors. The right result will be a safer and better Nassau County. Thank you, and best of luck to Nassau County's next district attorney, Ann Donnelly.
Thank you, Detective Wighouse. Goes without saying, but thank you again to the police department for hosting us today. This new facility is beautiful. Commissioner Ryder, we know you oversee many talented police officers, but I personally had no idea how many musicians were in the ranks. I want to thank the Blue Lion Band for playing as you joined our ceremony today. Ladies and gentlemen, now you're in for a treat. It's not clear why the District Attorney Donnelly chose me for MC when the best public speaker here, as we all know, is Reverend Dr. Eric C. Millett. When he's not tending to his own church in Freeport, he's a chaplain to the Freeport Police Department. He's also a former Marine. So everybody sit up, no slouching in the chairs. Dr. Millett, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I want to recognize, first of all, the chairman, Joseph Cairo, to our Nassau County Executive, the Honorable Bruce Blakeman, our District Attorney, Ann Donnelly, and her family, elected guests, our dais, dignitaries and guests, Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder, to my colleagues, the clergy, and to all law enforcement personnel, families, and to all present. Thank you so much for asking me to share in this moment of celebration and achievement of our new district attorney, Ann Donnelly, affectionately known as Annie. Can I call you Annie? Is it all right? All right. Have to ask permission. Annie, life can be like running in a race. It can be demanding and sometimes hard. And there may be objects or things to avoid and hurdles to clear. It can be a long and lonely experience, like a cross-country marathon. Or it can be an exciting team experience, like a relay race. As you look out over this gathering today, Annie, see your team. We are with you. As Nassau County's top prosecutor, we support you as you begin your journey to keep our streets safe and our families protected. We celebrate today because we finally have a district attorney who is not afraid to stand and enforce the law. You back the blue. Now the blue will back you. The time for you to roll up your sleeves has already begun. The job before you is sure to be a challenging one. So thank you for your service of working for over 32 years in the DA's office, now you are the boss. Taking the risk to step up and serve is the best way to discover the skills and talents God has given you. So thank you, Annie, for stepping up. In closing, let me say it is easy to talk about doing things and filling goals for yourself, but simply talking doesn't achieve anything. The time for just talk must be put aside now, for duty calls. Nassau County residents need your strength and leadership. Many have been brought down through their failure to separate personal indulgence from duty. Madam DA, you must not allow yourself to make that mistake. You must see within yourself what we so desperately need, a prosecutor who will always do her duty, no more catch and release. The fact is, yes, the fact is our police departments need you, our county need you, our families need you. We need you to continue to stand for justice, stand for the law, that if you do the crime, justice will find you. And when justice finds whoever breaks the law, that crook will be hooked, booked, and removed from society. Dante said, in the middle of the journey of our life, I found myself astray in a dark wood where the straight road has been lost. We may not always know the road ahead. 2022 has just begun, and there is a lot of cleaning up that must be done. But rest well at night, Nassau County. There is a new sheriff, not in town, but from this town. Yeah, she's from this town, who will uphold the law, who will keep our streets, our communities, our homes, and most of all, our lives safe. Proverbs 21:15 says, when justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers. Proverbs also says, whoever says to the wicked, you are in the right, will be cursed by peoples, abhorred by nations. But those who rebuke the wicked will have delight, and a good blessing will come upon them. So let us banish our doubts, dismiss our fear, and go into the future with law and order as our battle mission, knowing that God will still bless our land with glorious victory, because he has given to us District Attorney Ann Donnelly, who will bring justice to the righteous and terror to the evildoers in Nassau County. Madam DA, congratulations. May God bless and protect you as you enter the office of Nassau County's District Attorney. Continue to stand for justice and our American way. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Millett. That was wonderful. Now, in more than 30 years of being both a co-worker and friend, I must tell you, Ann Donnelly is the fairest person in the world. She believes that justice must be administered fairly, without bias, and without favoritism. That's true for everyone except for fellow graduates of Fordham Law. They're first among equals. Judge David Sullivan attended both Fordham University and Fordham Law School, the same institutions as our district attorney. They began their careers together at the Nassau County District Attorney's Office. About 20 years ago, our friend Dave became Judge Sullivan. It's an honor that is well-earned and well-deserved. He's one of the most respected jurists by assistant district attorneys, the defense bar, and fellow judges. Please help me welcome Judge David Sullivan, who will administer the oath of office.
Raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I, Ann T. Donnelly,
I, Ann T. Donnelly,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the State of New York,
to support the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to faithfully discharge
and to faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of District Attorney
the duties of the Office of District Attorney
for the County of Nassau,
for the County of Nassau,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Madam Judge.
Thank you. Okay. I knew I was getting old when I needed these to read anything. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to our Master of Ceremonies, Rick Whalen, my colleague and my friend. Rick is now the Nassau County Executive Assistant District Attorney for the Investigations Division. Those guys better look out. Thank you, Nassau County Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder, or as I refer to him, Patty, for hosting us today at the beautiful Nassau County Police Department Center of Training and Intelligence. I have worked with the Commissioner for my entire 32-year career. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you to the members of the Nassau County Police Department Pipe and Drums, the members of the Department Color Guard, and the members of the Blue Lion Band. I appreciate your help and support today. Bruce Blakeman, our new county executive, I want to say congratulations and thank you for standing by me through the campaign and helping this novice know what to do. Nassau County Comptroller Elaine Phillips, congratulations. You never failed to stand behind me and say, "Step up for that picture, Annie." Thank you. Nassau County Clerk, longtime clerk, Maureen O'Connell, thank you again for helping a novice who didn't know what she was doing, but you did. Nassau County Legislative Presiding Officer Rich Nicolello, thank you for being here today. And my heartfelt thanks to the Republican Committee Chairman, Joseph G. Cairo Jr., who was so supportive and encouraging during my first run for elective office. I could not have done it without you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Nassau County Conservative Party Chairman Dan Donovan. And I was very moved that the new appointed New York Police Department Commissioner, Keyshawn Shule, came today to wish me well. Commissioner Sewell, I wish you well also. You're taking on a tough job, as am I, but I know you'll be wonderful. Thank you, John Wakehouse, my friend, my colleague, as we say, a cop's cop through these many years. Thank you, I think, for calling the chairman and calling me saying, you really have to think about doing this. Thank you, Sal Valentinetti, for that beautiful rendition of... I love you too, Sal. Just don't tell your fiance, is she here? She might get... I'm kidding. I also want to extend a thank you to Mr. Victor Maldonado and Ms. Jennifer Payne, two parents of crime victims who were with me throughout the campaign. You and your families remain in my prayers and thoughts every day. And a final thank you to the men and women who are serving in our armed forces, those in the fire service, EMTs, police officers, and everyone who is on the front lines during these difficult times every day. It is truly the greatest honor of my life to be standing before you today. When I was a little girl, I used to accompany my father, who was a court officer, to work. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd be district attorney one day at that very same courthouse where my father worked. As many of you know, I am a lifelong prosecutor. I never thought about running for office, let alone running for DA. For 32 years, I have served all of you in this county, prosecuting complex financial crimes, violent felonies, massive drug conspiracies. Some of those cases made it into the news, but I never sought that spotlight. I only sought to do what was right. Some people have asked me, why did you decide to run for district attorney? My only motivation in my job as a career prosecutor were the pursuit of justice, an abiding desire to keep families and neighbors safe, and provide support for those in need. A few issues were nagging at me. It became apparent that there was going to be a vacancy for district attorney, and I mulled over the extreme bail and discovery laws that were signed into law in Albany. They were making the job of prosecutors and law enforcement officers more difficult. Those laws were making our people less safe. Indeed, I experienced firsthand the anguish of watching dangerous criminals who I had brought to court be released without bail. Some of those criminals left the courthouse laughing at me and immediately fled this great country. There was no justice for those victims. I also thought of a quote from the first century scholar Hillel. The quote intones, "If not you, then who? If not now, then when?" I viewed this quote as a personal challenge that went hand in hand with my dad's call to do the right thing. Somebody had to take up the battle against criminal justice laws that had gone too far and have put safety of the public at risk. And I kept thinking, if not you, then who? And always do the right thing. I stand before you here today as your district attorney, able to make this promise to you. You have my word. I will join with other district attorneys and appeal to Albany legislators. We must amend these laws. We must give back discretion to our judges to keep our county safe. One of the things that became apparent to me as I campaigned for district attorney was this common reason that people chose to settle in Nassau County. I traveled from the North Shore to the South Shore, from the city line to Massapequa, and everywhere in between. And I shook hands with neighbors, and they invited me into their homes, and I asked them about their concerns. Overwhelmingly, they told me they lived in Nassau County because it's one of the safest places in our country to raise a family. They chose Nassau County for the schools, the beaches, the parks, the access to New York City, and the ability to raise their families in one of the greatest places in the United States. I must thank the residents of Nassau County that I met during the last 6 months, and all the residents of Nassau County for entrusting your safety to me. I promise you, our team at the Nassau County District Attorney's Office is committed to keeping this county, our home, one of the safest places in the world. It was that drawer of good schools that brought my parents, Barbara and Patrick Galligan, to the Garden City South, Franklin Square area to raise their 4 children. One of the most exciting things you can do as a little girl is go to work with your dad. I never forgot those experiences. I remember being about 7 or 8 years old and was awestruck by that courthouse, the rotunda, the courtrooms. My dad would take me into proceedings, and I observed prosecutors and judges, defense attorneys, and police officers. I certainly didn't understand everything that was going on, but I knew that what was happening was important. Later on, as a college student, I learned that my dad was also a big believer in organized labor. As a young woman, he signed me up for every civil service exam imaginable, often without telling me. I would come home from college on a Friday, and he'd say, "Annie, don't stay out too late. You have to take a test tomorrow." After taking what felt like a million tests, I decided to become a police officer. I had an offer with the New York City Police Department and was prepared to join after graduating from Fordham University. But Dad, I think he had a different plan that he never really told me about. He began to shepherd me down a different path. We spent a lot of time on the phone during my junior and beginning of my senior year, and he would remind me, "Do you remember when I used to bring you to court? Those judges, those prosecutors, they're all attorneys. You could do great work as a lawyer. You should think about it." For 3 months, he called me nearly every day and asked me to apply to law school. So to appease him, I took another test, and that was the LSAT. To my own surprise, I actually did very well. I applied to law school and waited. Unfortunately, my father passed away before I received the acceptance letters. It was a tough time for our family. I was very concerned about my mom, my youngest sister, who was only 11 at the time, and how precisely was I supposed to pay for law school. But Mom stepped up at the time, and she drilled home this message to me. Annie, education is important. It can never be taken from you. We will find a way. It is because of my dad's incredible persistence, my mother's remarkable ability to keep us focused during a period of tragedy and uncertainty that I am here today. In short, today is the fulfillment of my parents' values and visions. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Patty. Thank you. Thank you. My parents also taught us about justice, compassion, and equity. I don't believe those are old-fashioned notions. Holding a person accountable for their actions is at the core of justice. At the same time, those who are experiencing horrors of drug addiction, alcohol addiction, gambling addiction deserve our compassion and our help. We live in the greatest country in the world with the greatest court system in the world. Prosecutors, the defense bar, the judiciary, we must all work together to arrive at a just outcome in every case. I would often tell young prosecutors who would be working for us, no two defendants are ever alike. You must look at everything. We will aggressively prosecute cases when appropriate and be equally compassionate when the circumstances warrant it. I can tell you one of my top priorities is tackling the gun violence that threatens our very way of life. I will do everything possible to win the battle over gun violence with our partners in the Nassau County Police Department, the village police departments, the state police, and our federal law enforcement agencies. We know that when gang members feel that it can be a free-for-all, innocent people get hurt. Drawing together a task force of individuals dedicated to this mission, we will stop the flow of weapons into our county. The opioid crisis has not gone away. In many respects, it has gotten worse during the coronavirus pandemic. We will push for treatment court and health care options for people who need it. But mark my words, we will fight very hard against the gangs and people selling this poison in our communities to our children. As an assistant district attorney, I worked for many years on internet crimes and child exploitation cases. It is tough but rewarding work. Everyone here today probably has a smartphone in their pocket. All your personal information is in one place. Technology is evolving every day, and criminals are finding new ways to steal our money, our identities, and strip us of our sense of security. My office will be laser focused on internet crimes. We will train our ADAs to be the best in the country at handling those cases. And we will be in the vanguard, and other officers will look to us as leaders. We have seen an explosion of heartless criminals who exclusively focus on the elderly. I'm sure everyone in this room knows someone who was exploited in a grandparent scam. A person works their entire life, and a criminal can take their life savings away in an instant. It offends me to my core. We will go to every senior center, every library, every place we're invited to educate residents about the latest scams and how to protect themselves. We will work with banks and credit unions to help them identify suspicious transactions. Now, to be certain, I have built a relationship with the men and women of law enforcement in the last 32 years. It is a relationship built upon mutual trust and respect. I will stand with every person who takes up the fight to keep us safe. I will not allow anyone to humiliate or harm our men and women in blue. I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you always. The adage, justice is blind, is equally compelling to me and will be a guiding force in my office. We will treat all people equally, regardless of political affiliation, race, religion, color, gender, or economic status. I must thank the Assistant District Attorneys, my support staff, and the investigators of the Nassau County District Attorney's Office. When I started my career as an ADA in 1989, we did not have the burdensome discovery rules that exist today. The last 2 years have been very challenging, and our assistants are feeling overwhelmed. Your hard work does not go unrecognized. I want to assure you, my office will always have your back. I want to thank my husband, Dave, of 30 years. Thank you, Dave. If I looked at him first, I was going to cry. If I looked at, Rick, I could say, okay. Thank you to my 3 wonderful and amazing children. Jack, Maura, and Erin, thank you for always supporting me and understanding why this job I do is so important. Thank you for always being there for me. My dad often said, do the right thing, and the right thing will happen. And that is my promise to all of you today. I will always do the right thing, and together we will watch the right things happen for Nassau County. Thank you.
Thank you, District Attorney Donnelly. It's a new day in Nassau County, and we are all fortunate to work for you. As Assistant District Attorneys, we must be ethical, honest, principled, and compassionate. It's tough to do that sometimes without divine intervention. To lead us in our benediction today is Rabbi Mordecai Kamenetsky from the Yeshiva of South Shore. For decades, he's been a leader in the 5 towns. As an educator, he's turned countless young men into leaders of their own communities. Rabbi Kamenetsky, the DA told me it was her honor to be present when the ground was broken for the new school. She looks forward to returning soon. Please help me welcome Rabbi Kamenetsky.
honored guests, and have to recognize so many of our dear friends, public officials. It's always great to hear the words. County Executive Bruce Blakeman, all the legislators, and I'm in your house, Police Commissioner, really a dear friend, a very dear friend. You can't invoke or bless a DA without thanking the Police Commissioner, because without you, she can serve as much as she wants. It just doesn't work.
Don't get me in trouble.
Hey, Chairman Cairo, you know, I can kind of get used to this. We're going tomorrow. It's the last 3 days we've been doing invocations. You know, I feel like a NASCAR driver. Maybe you put an emblem on the back of my suit, the official invocator of the 2021 Republican victory. At least the rabbinic invocator. You know, I'll go off script. It was the summer this year, and Chairman called me to Rabbi Kamenetsky. I want you to get a group together. I'd like you to meet someone who's running for DA. Her name is Annie Donnelly. And the first thing I thought was, you're going to have a DA with the name Annie? Like Brucey, you know, I mean, county executive. So I'm going to call you Ann. So we put together a little bit of coalition, about 20 rabbis, community leaders. You see some of them over here today. And I said, you know, I'm a rabbi and I officially can't campaign. You got that whole 501c3. I don't want to get prosecuted or lose it. But I could put together a group of people and she could talk. And talk she did. And everybody came away with the exact same impressions of that same St. Agnes of the Lord's church. It's interesting. A bunch of rabbis that say the same thing as the parishioners. She's normal. She's on target. And she really, really cares. And if you look at the numbers, you crushed it in the 5 towns. Of course, Bruce helped a little bit, because we all love him there. You know, I've never given a blessing, I never offered a blessing in front of a DA, but I sure tell you, sure better to offer a blessing than offer a plea bargain. So, you know, the Torah, Deuteronomy states, Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice, thou shalt pursue. And the Talmud asks, what are the 2 justices? Shouldn't it just say, justice, thou shalt pursue? And the Talmud answers, because the first justice refers to the letter of the law, but the second time it refers to justice with compromise, with compassion, with caring, and understanding every single aspect of the case, just like you said. So, justice is mentioned myriad times in the Torah and throughout the Talmud. There are tomes and tomes of tort law, of damage law, and of all types of criminal law. Because we are a society that is built on justice. But Isaiah tells us, Limdu heitev dirshu mishpat ishru chamutz, shiftu yasam rivu almanah. Learn to do good. Devote yourself to justice and help the wrong, uphold the rights of the orphaned, and defend the cause of the widow. And the orphan and the widow refers to people who have no voice, who have no one to protect them. And Annie, you become their voice. Your office becomes the protector of those who have no one to defend them. And thus I pray that God give you in your office the sense of balance and justice with compassion yet with a firmness that ensures the safety of all our citizens. And at this moment, in a very tumultuous time, in which our community, the Jewish community, the one that I was raised in a spirit of camaraderie, harmony, in which my father devoted his whole life to cultivate within the congruence of the greater community, and unfortunately is under renewed attacks of bias and hate. So we beseech you, Almighty God, grant to District Attorney Annie Donnelly the vision, the leadership, and the fortitude to be a driving force for justice, penalty, and penance to those who may meet wrongdoing, thus ensuring harmony, tolerance, and to be an outspoken censor of those stains on American society. As the Talmud tells us, those who are compassionate with the arrogant will one day be arrogant with the compassionate. I just want to end. May God bless you, Annie, and your wonderful, wonderful family, your staff and supporters, and all the members of the Office of District Attorney, to do your work in good faith and in good spirit, that the eyes of the Almighty Hashem shine his countenance upon you with great grace and love, in the spirit of justice, in his spirit of justice, with compassion. And let us all say amen. Now, I just want to end with a quote, not from a Talmudic sage, not from a rabbi, not even from a politician. I think it was from a showman. I think his name was Wild Bill Hickok. Annie, go get your purple.
Thank you, Rabbi. When you work in law enforcement, it can be very emotionally draining. We spend many nights away from our families because crime doesn't always happen between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday. It's hard work. And even harder, not taking that work home with you. Behind every good prosecutor is an even better family. I've known this next young woman, since she was about 5 years old. She's a loving daughter and an extraordinary musician. Please help me welcome one of the daughters of our district attorney, Erin Donnelly, who will end today's inauguration with a rendition of America the Beautiful. Thank you, Erin. That was absolutely wonderful. Let's hear it again for her. Come on, let's go. Give it up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program. Thank you for attending today, and God bless you.